Right now with Gift Horse, we're pretty close to having it finished. We have the entire wood armature ready, and we have all the printed panels printed, and we're currently doing the fitting and making sure the panels fit onto the wood armature, and then we'll pack it up and send it down to San Jose next week.
Like halfway through, like all of us, the fabricator, the printer, and me, like handing the digital files to them and then them doing whatever they needed. And we all made huge mistakes in the beginning, and then it's like, oh, we all kind of got it. It's like, oh, you do this and that, and you sort of create the production chain.
Well, my character is purple, and he has flames on the hair. And I thought, well, if you're going to make an avatar, why not make him crazy looking? And I don't understand why people want to make avatars that look like sexier versions of themselves. I want to make something really weird. Well, so what we're building is a 13-foot high replica of the Trojan Horse. So it's based on the Greek myth of the Trojan horse that you put things inside.
Yes.
And what we're going to be putting inside are paper sculptures of viruses.
Viruses?
That's right.
How did you probably didn't start with a piece like this. How did you start off, and what inspired the Gift Horse?
The Gift Horse came from a project we did 2 years ago called No Matter. And No Matter was a basis of making 40 imaginary objects in Second Life. So we hired all of these builders in Second Life, which is a simulated world where people build everything. And so we hired these people to build imaginary objects like the Trojan Horse, like the Holy Grail, and imaginary objects that are thought experiments like Schrodinger's cat, or the tree that fell in the forest that didn't make a sound. So we had to make representations in Second Life, and then we exported them to real life.
I see.
And built them as paper models.
This is the quarter scale model of the horse, and we decided to work with the quarter scale model to work out any of the kinks and iron out any of the problems before building the larger model.
It's so interesting working with the ShopBot is that everything is accurate. Like if we did this just by hand cutting pieces, it would be off in so many different ways, and that would just...
When you put the different panels on onto the horse itself, you see this black line here, which looks a lot like you would see in a SketchUp model or a 3D program. You see black lines indicating as a wireframe indicating the edges of the model. So this is Second Life here that I'm logged into, and what you see in front of you is the model of the Trojan horse that we originally started working with. And so you can see that with this model, it's a lot more complicated than what we have here, but it looks kind of mostly the same. And where you see some of the differences are in things like the wheels in Second Life are perfectly round, but of course as a wood model that's very difficult to do, so we cut them into hexagonal shapes instead of wood shapes, instead of round shapes. There's also a lot more complexity in things like the ears here. And with the ears here, they're kind of round and pointy, and once again that would be difficult to do, prohibitively difficult to do as a wood model. And so what we wanted to accomplish with that wood model is to have a real faceted 3D look, kind of like a primitive digital sculpture. Because each of the avatars are anonymous, this presented a little bit of a challenge. We can't contact them in real life. So I had to go in world and go on Second Life with my character and find these people in these various builders groups and start conversations with them. Usually what would happen was I would bring people into my space in Second Life, show them the process of what we were doing about making something virtual and bringing it into a physical space. And then they got really excited about that idea of making something real from a virtual model.
The whole structure is made of wood, the armature, a lot of it without hardware, a lot of it interlocks without hardware, which is really amazing. The fabricator we worked with specifically, that's his thing of making things that lock together. So that's one part of it, but the part I'm really proud of is that the exterior cladding is made on this bioboard, which I took 4 months to find online and through all these print companies. And it's made of 70% recycled content with white paper and liner. And we needed this specifically to work with our printers. They're a fine art press in San Francisco called Electric Works, and they do really interesting limited editions for artist projects. They just did a project with Dave Eggers that just closed. We get that residue of like a little bit of pixelation, which we really wanted, and also where sometimes it just doesn't match up perfectly. It's sort of like really talking about it being a digital texture, it's a digital skin over a digital, object.
And we have a map with all these different placements of these objects that we drew up in the numbering scheme. And there's probably, what do you think, Victoria, maybe 100, 120 of these panels? Yeah. There's so many of these panels.
I would say more.
It's kind of mind-boggling. So I find the less that we think about the project and its complexity, the better, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to sleep.
Every journey begins with one step, right?
Yeah, just one thing at a time, one thing at a time.
The amazing thing about it is that it's an exact replica of what's actually physically been built in wood. So what you could do in SketchUp is make the design and then send it as a cut list to the computer. Crazy numbering system, which has helped us stay sane and, figure things out.
We have a lot of these, we have tons of these pieces. This is foot, left front, piece number 8.
We've made physical representations of these sort of intangible imaginary viruses that we can't see or touch. So we've made these things where people can hold and make it together.
This is foot and mouth disease, which is a virus that affects cattle. We call it foot and mouth disease. It's kind of a joke because I think we all have that when we talk sometimes in public. This is a T-virus from the video game from Resident Evil. And it is a zombie virus, so it turns you into a zombie in that game. So we thought that would be kind of a fun one to have.
It will be installed at the San Jose Museum of Art until February 2011. And then we will bring it home and hopefully find a place to store it. We'd love to sell it. I mean, we'd love it to find a permanent home where it could be fully assembled and enjoyed, but we haven't found that as of yet. So hopefully that will happen someday.
Scott, the 3 questions. What's your favorite wine or beer?
What I really like is Maker's Mark. I like bourbon.
Oh.
So lately I've been sampling bourbon, and I've been enjoying that quite a bit.
Good. What's your favorite dish or food that you like to eat?
I'm a huge fan of Japanese food. If I had to be stranded on a desert island with just one type of cuisine, I would choose Japanese food.
Like sushi or more the teriyaki?
Sushi is just really, really good. I just love sushi.
Yes.
So my favorite are like
high five to sushi.
My favorite are like the unagi and like the eel.
Do you do the sea urchins or no?
I won't eat it.
Yeah, I still haven't.
I tried it once, and it was like I think most Westerners don't go for it. Yeah.
And finally, what's your favorite gadget?
These days I'm really obsessed, and this is one of the imaginary objects, the idea of the perpetual motion machine. So this machine that constantly generates energy. So some sort of futuristic energy generating gadget. The infinite battery, perpetual motion machine, fusion machine. That's what I like.
Well, thanks, Scott. I'm always fascinated with the answers.
I love it.
Scott Kildall and Victoria.
Scott Kildall.
Kildall.
Kindle! You said Kindle!
I just got Kindle.
She just got a Kindle yesterday.
Kindle.
Don't worry, people always call.
The first month I knew they called him Scott Kendall.
They always put N's in there, like there's no N in the name, but people always do it.
So it's a biennial.
Close. It's actually, the piece is called Gift Horse.
Gift Horse.
Okay, well, you guys.
Okay, let's try that again. Let's pretend we're at an Irish bar.
Okay.
Well, where's all the beer?
I can see why you work in wine country.